So this video might be a couple of days late, but it's gonna be a pretty long one because there's a lot to discuss. As you all know, there was that police shootout with some criminal in Philadelphia the other night. And the next morning, I expected there to be quite a bunch of outrage on Twitter about it because, it was like another mass shooting. To my surprise, there wasn't much going on. It was all crickets. Why was there no outrage about it? Probably because it was against cops and it wasn't a white guy going into a high school or a Walmart. I remember I checked Linda Sarsour's Twitter specifically and there was nothing there about the event. Shocking, right? Within minutes of doing this though, there was a deluge of tweets all over my timeline about two of our favorite Big Four members. The squad as they call themselves. Apparently, Rashida Tlaib and Omar Ilhan were banned from entering Israel. This was one of the first tweets I had seen. My city wanted to pick figs with me. I broke down reading this and worry every single day after I won for my family's safety. My cousin was texting me with photo of Ilhan, and they should put on a welcoming poster. I guess she meant I thought. When I heard the news, I couldn't tell her. So for those of you who may or may not know, Ilhan and Rashida decided they were going to visit Israel and Palestine to expose all the awful treatment of the Palestinian people by the Israeli government. It seemed as though Israel was leaning towards letting them in, and then they decided not to. And right after that, Trump had tweeted something that they shouldn't be let in. So everyone was blaming Trump for this, even though it has nothing to do with Trump whatsoever. Because I'm sure Bibi is just like, Trump, whatever you say, I'll do it, boss. Because I'm sure that's how that works. But I could see already she was playing the victim. Even after she won, that's what she's talking about. When she won a spot in Congress, she was fearing for her family's safety. Because we just got to throw that victimhood right in there, I'm a Muslim congresswoman, I'm so scared, I'm so frightened. But I knew there's more to the story, and this story actually started like a month before this, and we'll get to that. But first we'll start with a thread of tweets from the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. Bibi is going to tell us the reasons why they weren't allowed entry. No country in the world respects America and American Congress more than the state of Israel. As a free and vibrant democracy, Israel is open to critics and criticism, with one exception. Israeli law prohibits the entry into Israel of those who call for and work to impose boycotts on Israel, as do other democracies that prohibit the entry of people who seek to harm the country. In fact, in the past, the U.S. did this to an Israeli member of Knesset, I don't know what that is, as well as to other public figures from around the world. Congresswomen Tlaib and Omar are leading activists in promoting the legislation of boycotts against Israel in the American Congress. Oh yes, we'll get to that soon. For those of you who don't know, they were promoting BDS to the Congress and it backfired on them, and we'll get to that in a bit. Only a few days ago, we received their itinerary for their visit in Israel, which revealed that they planned a visit whose sole objective is to strengthen the boycott against us and deny Israel's legitimacy. For instance, they listed their destination of their trip as Palestine and not Israel, and unlike all Democratic and Republican members of Congress who have visited Israel, they did not request to meet any Israeli officials, either from the government or the opposition. A week ago, Israel warmly welcomed some 70 Democratic and Republican members of Congress who expressed broad bipartisan support for Israel, which was also demonstrated a month ago in a resounding bipartisan vote against BDS in Congress. However, the itinerary of the two Congresswomen reveals that the sole purpose of their visit is to harm Israel and increase incitement against it. In addition, the organization that is funding their trip is MIFTA, which is an avid supporter of BDS, and among whose members are those who have expressed support for terrorism against Israel. What a shock. It's no surprise to me because every single one of these people, Sarsour, Tlaib, Omar, are all friends with people who are terrorists or have supported terrorism in the past. So that's never a shock to me when I find that out. And it's funny how this is something that no one ever pays attention to. Doesn't alarm anybody. I mean, mean, of course, except for the people who get it right and know that Israel's in the right here most of the time. Therefore, the Minister of Interior has decided not to allow their visit, and I, as Prime Minister, support his decision. Nonetheless, if Congresswoman Tlaib submits a humanitarian request to visit her relatives, the Minister of Interior has announced that he will consider her request on the condition that she pledges not to act to promote boycotts against Israel during her visit. So as you can see, it's pretty cut and dry, it's straightforward. These are obviously valid reasons for denying them entry into their country. BDS will claim to be this organization seeking justice for the Palestinian people and against the corruption of the Israeli government. Meanwhile, it targets Israeli businesses of all kinds. So it's a huge lie that it's just all about the corrupt government of Israel. It harms the actual people of the country. It supports the boycotting of regular business owners in Israel, of all businesses in Israel. So this caused Linda Sarsour and all of her squad friends to go insane on Twitter. Oh, see, we told you this is Israel's racist policies. Right away, it was racism. It was Islamophobia, of course. It had nothing to do with the fact that they're trying to break down Israel's entire economic system. And I have a feeling this was all planned out. I'm not a tinfoil hat kind of guy, but I honestly believe in this case that they planned this out from the beginning, and if not from the beginning, at least from the point where they were denied entry. So let's go back to the beginning real quick. So about a month ago, Tlaib, Omar, and AOC started promoting legislation for BDS, in favor of BDS. That backfired real bad when another Congress member proposed legislation against it, and the vote was unanimous practically. It was like 398 votes to 17 to condemn BDS movement against Israel. 16 of those 17 were Democrats, and one was a Republican. 3 of the 4 squad members voted in favor of BDS. The 3 I just mentioned. Presley didn't, though. I wonder if that affects their relationship and her presence in the squad now. Don't worry, girls, you still have your girl Linda. She's the real head of the squad anyway. Let's get that straight. So basically, they sealed their fate when they made that vote. So later that night, I found out there was a report that Rashida Tlaib was granted entry into Israel. Israel's interior minister says he has received and granted a request by Democratic Rep Rashida Tlaib to enter the Israeli-occupied West Bank on humanitarian grounds. Minister said that Tlaib asked to visit her 90-year-old grandmother in the West Bank. So Israel granted her entry to the country, just like they said they would. They said she could apply for entry on humanitarian grounds, and Rashida Tlaib decided to take them up on their offer. Here's the letter she wrote. I would like to request admittance to Israel in order to visit my relatives and specifically my grandmother, who is in her 90s and lives in Beit al Farouk. I don't know how to fucking pronounce these fucking Arab names. This could be my last opportunity to see her. I will respect any restrictions and will not promote boycotts against Israel during my visit. Thank you, Rashida Tlaib. So there you go. Happy ending, right? She got what she wanted, she got in, and she's gonna get to see her grandmother. Everyone should be happy, right? No, of course not. What happens next is the thing that makes me think this was a political stunt, just to make Israel look worse and her look better. Tlaib decided, you know what? I'm not gonna go to Israel now. You've granted me the request, but I'm not gonna go because these are not the terms I want to go on. This goes against everything I stand for. No, I'm not shitting you. Here's the statement provided by Tlaib. In my attempt to visit Palestine, once again, Palestine, I've experienced the same racist treatment that many Palestinian Americans endure when encountering the Israeli government. No, you don't. I'm sure they probably let them in. And it's somehow racist right away. It's racism. I'm sorry, but are you both not from the Middle East? In fact, the same exact area? How far off do you think your genetics really are? In preparation for my visit, my grandmother was deciding which fig tree we should pick from together. I love love this. This is the new Tamir Rice was just 12 years old. You know, I wanted to pick figs with my grandmother. While Palestinians and Israelis who are against the illegal military occupation were looking forward to members of Congress finally listening to and seeing them for the first time, the Israeli government used my love and desire to see my grandmother to silence me and made my ability to do so contingent upon my signing a letter reflecting just how undemocratic and afraid they are of the truth my trip would reveal about what is happening in the state of Israel and the Palestinians living under occupation with United States support. Right, so according to her, this is a violation of her free speech. She should be able to go to Israel, preach hate against them and the boycott of their entire economic system and all their businesses and all that stuff. Because, you know, free speech, guys. They didn't use her grandmother. This was her only exception. This is the only exception to their rule against people who are promoting BDS to enter their country. If you get shut out for that, you have one exception: family members. She says they used her grandmother against her. I say they were being humanitarian and allowing a scumbag in that they should never be allowing in the first place. Just because, you know, they're not the most awful fucking place on earth. How on earth does someone take a country actually skipping over the fact that they banned you already and allowing you to still come in just to see your family members and use that against them as if it's a bad thing? Amazing. I have therefore decided not to travel to Palestine and Israel at this time. Visiting my grandmother under these oppressive conditions meant to humiliate me would break my grandmother's heart. Right, because I'm sure your 90-year-old grandmother is this great BDS activist who is all about the principle of you having free speech when you come to Israel. She doesn't want to see her granddaughter more than that, I'm sure. I'm sure that's the case, right? Silencing me with treatment to make me feel less than is not what she wants from me. It would kill a piece of me that always stands up against racism and injustice. Please tell me how it's fucking racism. This is the thing. We just say it's racism and it's racism. That's it. We don't need proof. It doesn't matter. When I won the election to become a United States Congresswoman, many Palestinians, especially my grandmother, felt a sense of hope. A hope that they would finally have a voice. I cannot allow the Israeli government to take that away from them, or to use my deep desire to see my grandmother, potentially for the last time, as a political bargaining chip. No, you're using this as a political bargaining chip. You have the chance to see your grandmother, like you said, for the last time, and you're choosing to pretend you're a martyr and not go. You're a despicable human being. My family and I have cried together throughout this ordeal. They've promised to keep my grandmother alive until I can one day reunite with her. I don't know how they're going to do that. Are they magicians? But whatever. You could unite with her right now, but you're being a selfish, disingenuous piece of shit. It is with their strength and heart that I reiterate I am a duly elected United States Congresswoman, and I will not allow the Israeli government to humiliate me and my family or take away our right to speak out. I will not allow the Israeli government to take away our hope. Racism and the politics of hate is thriving in Israel, and the American people should fear what this will mean for the relationship between our two nations. If you truly believe in democracy, then the close alignment of Netanyahu with Trump's hate agenda must prompt a re-evolution of our unwavering support for the state of Israel. The denial of entry of a congressional delegation is not only about Congresswoman Omar and I, but about the deep-rooted racism within Israel that is taking us further away from peace. The Israeli and Palestinian people need us to be more courageous and to be honest brokers of peace. Being silent and not condemning the human rights violations of Israel government is a disservice to all who live there, including my incredibly strong and loving grandmother. This type of oppression is painful for all humanity, but it is especially painful for me personally every time I hear my loving family members cry out for freedom to live and the right to feel human. Yeah, I didn't hear anything like that come out of the grandmother's mouth. And this is the spin they're trying to put on this story. The spin they're trying to put on it is, Israel, look, you're damaging the relationship between the United States and your country. What a fantastic spin that is. I'm sorry, our relationship is not damaged from this. Only asshats who buy into what you say are going to think that. We had the Democratic nominations all claiming this. Biden, Warren. Oh, this makes you guys look bad, Israel. This isn't cool. You have to let a congresswoman in. Yeah, for non-congressional reasons, right? Her sole purpose is to go there and cause problems and make Israel look bad. But somehow, and for some reason, we should allow in a congresswoman who's coming there for non-congressional reasons just to trash Israel. For some reason, we have to do this. And if not, it ruins our relationship with Israel. Bullshit. I understand people's point that this might not make Israel look good, but nothing makes Israel look good. Don't you people understand this yet? This is a damned if they do, damned if they don't situation. And how do you quantify which is worse for PR? It doesn't matter. If they go there, they videotape and show all this stuff that they claim is happening, spin it into something that isn't happening. Oh, look at the oppression, and if they don't let them in, then, oh, look, Israel won't let in Palestinians, just like we told you. They're terrible against us. They're oppressing us. This was a lose-lose situation for Israel either way. I, for one, say good on you, Israel, for standing your ground. People who have brains and aren't mindless fucking drones will understand what you did and realize that you did allow her a chance to come in regardless of her promotion of BDS, and that she decided to fall on the sword. But unfortunately, we live in a world with too many brainless people who won't get it and will just see it as she sees it, as a racist and oppressive move. Oh, by the way, yesterday, 3 rockets were shot into Israel from the Palestinian side. I guess that was retaliation for City, now wasn't it? That's something Tlaib and Omar and Sarsar aren't going to talk about. Why are Palestinians shooting rockets at Israel? Oh, I guess it's because of all that oppression, right? You gotta fight the oppressor no matter how, by any means necessary, I guess. Honestly, Palestine is really lucky that Israel just doesn't carpet bomb them with fucking rockets of their own in retaliation for all these attacks they constantly get against them. And they're lucky they haven't completely wiped them off the face of the planet already. And for good reason. That's not something they should do. It's not something I'm in favor of. But at this point, I could understand if they did it. Anyway, guys, I want to leave you with this little clip I found from the Israel advocacy movement. It's a nice little video clip explaining how members of Tlaib family have been pro-terrorism in the past. But these are some of the things that Democrats like to ignore when they're in favor of these types of politicians who support BDS and Palestine and a one-state solution. But unfortunately for Rashida and Omar, I guess Bibi had a 2-squad solution, or a 2-squad member solution. That's what he proposed. Stay the fuck out of our country, bitches. Anyway, guys, check out this video, and have a good night.
A couple of weeks ago, we broke a story exposing the terrorist connections of Rashida Tlaib's inner circle, but that was just the beginning. We've uncovered information about her family that will shock you. Her mother and husband belong to the Tlaib family from a village in the West Bank called Beitar. This is a place that's known as a flashpoint for extreme violence and a hotspot for terrorism. Here's her husband, Fayez Tlaib, liking and commenting on a photograph of terror mastermind Yasser Arafat. However, he's old news as Rashida divorced him, but she's still very close to her siblings. Here's one of them, her brother Ibrahim El Abed, liking a post that claims the Zionists control the media. But it's Rashida's other brother, Nada, who really caught our attention. On a news story that says Canada stands with Israel, he announced Canada will soon be a Muslim majority country. Pretty scary, huh? The brother of the first female Palestinian member of Congress is bragging about Islamic dominance over Canada. In this post, he pushes the deeply offensive anti-Semitic lie that today's Jews aren't really Jews at all, but imposters. And in this one, he glorifies Hamas by calling them heroes. That's right, Rashida's brother just called the Palestinian terror group Hamas heroes. What worried us even more than that was that 7 years ago, Rashida claimed that her sister Layla was on a no-fly list. Now this list is maintained by the FBI's Terrorist Screening Center. We have no idea why Layla was on the list, as when Fox News asked, both her and Rashida declined to comment. You see, we can't judge Rashida by what she says online, as she's really careful, but her friends and family aren't, and they shamelessly publicize their views on Jews and terrorism, and it's these comments that really concern us.